Hi, my name is Kim Barnes-Jefferson and welcome to FabFit TV. I am your host, and on FabFit TV I work with women to break free of the diet mindset so they can live a life of balance, peace, and harmony. And I got to give a special shout out to my transcriptionist, Leanne Taylor. She basically said to me, girl, you talk too fast. So I'm listening to you. You're hearing this in your earbuds, and I hope you're laughing. So I'm going to do my best to talk not as fast. So I want you to grade me, Leanne. All right. My guest today is Jenn Taylor. No, your name's not Taylor. Lee. My host today is Jenn Lee. And I met her probably a couple months ago, and we were talking, and she talked about how she was using this bullet journal to create not only her fitness goals, but her business goals. And for me, the bullet journal was some pretty pictures. And so I said, you know what? I know so many of my guests are always like, what's the best way to structure my goals? What's the best way to keep track of all my stuff? And it just got me thinking about Miss Jenn. So, Jenn, give us a little background about yourself, and then let's start talking about the bullet journal.
Absolutely. Actually, I discovered journaling, maybe in 2001. I quit my job and went to Europe for 3 months. And I remember watching Indiana Jones when I was a little kid, and him taking out that leather-bound journal and writing notes, and I thought, I am going to get myself one of those journals, and I'm going to log everything I do every single day. So that was me kind of journaling what I was doing every single day. And then a few years later, maybe 2 years later, I joined the fitness industry. And as you'll notice when you're in the gym, you see everyone logging down their workouts and making their progress, and you're wondering, like, these buff people in the gym have these little secrets in the journals. And so I started keeping my own little journal and tracking my own little progress in the gym. And then I migrated a few years later. I became a personal trainer and a group exercise instructor, and I needed to start tracking my clients. You know, when I had different clients, and in addition to my own workouts. Right. And so I upgraded from my little journal to like a daily planner, which I loved, because then I would, track, my goals, when I had my clients, and then I started doing reflections in it. And then I realized I'm running out of space in this planner. So I needed something else. And I was at a conference somewhere, and somebody handed me a free journal. And it was blank page by page. And I thought to myself, all these skills I have, I'm going to start, merging them all into one journal. Right. And so then I started doing it, and I've been achieving crazy things since then. And with the invention of the bullet journal, Ryder Carroll, he had trouble focusing on the tasks that he needed to do, and he came up with this way of bullet journaling, just quickly writing down each task and migrating them. So I kind of pulled all of my experiences in with this framework that this man had invented, and it's been great for me.
And it's so funny because it's like when you first started, like, you see bullet journals, like, you go on Pinterest and you see all these pretty pictures and I'm like, or stickers, and I was like, I got no time. Like, I just write, and I started just regular journaling probably like 3 years ago, and I was totally like, what's that all about? And then I was like, I look forward to it. Like, my day is off if I don't journal. And so then when I started thinking about you, I'm like, I like planners that don't have dates. Because I feel pigeonholed, because some days I'm only focused on one thing, so I don't need to write it down. And so then you're like, I just wasted a day or 3 days because I'm just focused on this one project, and I just know I just need to get it done. So I like the concept of what you're talking about, because just like you at the gym, I wrote down, this was my workout, and I did it for 4 weeks. And then I had another workout, I did it for 4 weeks, and I kept the same notebook and rattled and tattered.
So what I found good about the bullet journal, I've actually brought mine here. So
Perfect.
I keep
Yes,
touching.
so
I can't go anywhere actually without it. What I found that's great, like you said, some days you have smaller objectives or things that you've accomplished, and other days you might want to log a whole bunch of stuff. What I really love about the journal, and the way that I've adopted it and come to really love it, is that I look forward to December every year, where I buy myself a brand new journal, and then I write out, like, what do I want to achieve this year? Whether I want to run a marathon, or I want to achieve a career goal, a fitness goal, or financial goals. And then I write down, like, up front, what do I want to achieve this year? And then I go through and I say January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and the 12 months of the year. And I say, what kind of do I want to focus on this month that will get me to that goal? And then when January 1st comes around, I draw out the actual calendar of January. And then I plan out, like, if I'm training for a marathon, I'll be like, okay, I need to run 3 miles this day, 4 miles this day, and then kind of gradually build it up. And I'll actually give myself little stickers on the days I actually achieve that.
Right.
But then I'll flip the page and I'll start actually writing out the days and my training schedules, and how do I feel. I feel that the beauty of the bullet journal versus a reflections journal or a planning journal is the ability to plan, do, and reflect. It's kind of a cycle, because that way you can continuously improve and see what you're not doing well.
Right. So right now, so you take your can we show people what the so that way we can
Maybe.
show me the month. It's
Let me
fine
grab
to be
a month.
Yeah, a month.
I have a good month actually in here somewhere. Where's the month? What month is this?
Doesn't matter.
June. Oh boy, it's sticky. Actually, let's go back to May because it's really pretty. May, I decided to do rainbow stickers because there's a guilt in if there are 7 colors of the rainbow in the stickers, and to complete a week of running, if I could get that whole rainbow, it's very fulfilling.
Look at that. See,
So.
I like those crazy things like that. So basically, I want to get that glare off. So you go down and you say, okay, this is the month. Mm-hmm. So you always start with, this is what your month is.
Yes.
So then you say, okay, here's the month, and you fill in all the days. Mm-hmm. Now I'm sure there's probably like a sticker or some type of template for the month if you don't want to do this.
Yeah,
yourself.
I mean, if you notice, I'm not an artist. I
Right.
started doodling a little bit because I like, the inner artist that wants to come out.
Right.
It's really not there. Like a bumblebee's really a circle with a line in the middle with some like antenna things on the back.
Exactly.
But the purpose of the month, at a glance, is I put in any appointments I can't miss, any traveling I need to do, anything that conflicts, or if my goals are like career goals, for example, I might say, okay, this month I have to go to so many networking events.
Gotcha.
And I'll look for networking events and I'll pencil it in advance. That way
Gotcha.
when I go through day to day, I can refer back to my monthly calendar and say, what did I decide I'm going to try to do this month?
All right. So step 1 is just like, okay, fill out the month calendar and say, all right, what are your must-dos on this?
Yes.
On the calendar. So now at the bottom is it down here where you say, okay, what do I want to achieve this month? Or maybe it's carryover from the previous month?
Yes, and. So at the beginning of the year.
All of the above.
At the beginning of the year, yes, this year I started a little different. I have it kind of in the middle. At the beginning of the year, I have this it says year. And then I plan January, February, March, and I outline big, so January I thought I was going to do a yoga challenge. I wanted to pay off some bills. I wanted to learn something professionally. I needed to remember to change the heat filters in my house. Stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But then when I go to do that actual month, that's when I go back to it's called a future log. I go back to my future log and say, what did in January, when I was like, I'm going big with all these goals.
Right.
What did I want to do? And then I'll put it in there.
So it's kind of like that January when all of us I'm going to do these 50 things.
Right.
And then when it comes time to rubber to the road, you're like, so these 5 look awesome.
Yeah, and I feel it's really important too. So at the beginning of the year, I set out fitness goals, career goals, financial goals, fun goals. My brother calls me scheduled fun. If I don't schedule it, I don't do it. So I have to plan these things out. And then every month I try to pick one of those things from each of those categories to achieve that month.
I love it. So now, are you looking, so you look at your goals at the macro level. So every January, you're like, okay, this is life for the next 12 months. Then are you looking at your goals, say, clearly monthly, but are you looking at, say, quarterly? Because for me, sometimes 30 days comes too fast.
Absolutely.
So for me, right now we're coming up on the end of Q2. So right now in my head, I'm like, okay, how do I wrap Q2 and then go into Q3? Because a lot of my goals sometimes take time. For me, when I'm launching a product, and you launch products too. So it's not like, it's May 1st, I'm going to launch a product by May 31st. Sometimes it happens. But most times it's like, okay, that product's going to launch in September. So it's going to take me, start talking about it in May. Then June is this, July is this, August is that. So you look at things quarterly as well as
the
monthly?
beauty of, I think, the bullet journal is it's a blank slate. If you work in month or if you work in quarter or seasons, for example, if you're an athletes,
yes.
when I was in fitness and train athletes, we do the macro, meso, and micro cycles.
Gotcha.
So whatever works for you to plan, that's how you can break it down. Some people break down, they do the month at a glance,
Right.
and then they do the week at a glance, because they need to see everything they're doing for the entire week.
Right.
I'm a day-by-day kind of person.
Me too.
So, but if you're quarterly, instead of like before, like at the end of every quarter, you might do like a quarterly spread
Right.
where you write out your, massive goals for that, and then you break it down per month, then you break it down per week and per day.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Because I think to myself, like, I like the year at a glance because there's stuff, and then it also gives you a chance to go back every month and say, okay, what, especially in January, I thought I was King Kong. Clearly I'm not.
Right.
So you were able to like either, or maybe you didn't plan enough. You kind of you scaled back because maybe in the previous year you were the overachiever.
Yeah, I started actually planning. I used to plan a year in advance, but now I'm kind of slowing down a little bit, and I'm planning about 6 months in advance.
Yeah, so I like that, or because I could even take that 6 months and go from January to June and say, okay, this is what's happening, and then be able to reflect, starting right now, July to December, what the back half of the year would look like.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, reflection. I think reflection is really important in journaling. At the end of every month, I actually have my direct reports and my day job do a monthly reflection, because you don't understand how much progress you're making unless
Right.
you look back and see what you've actually accomplished.
And I like that because I'm thinking to myself of like, I like, so now I'm getting sold, okay? It's like, this is me getting sold and thinking like, how does this work in my life? So I like I see the whole, like, I see this as like a daily journal, but like, do you put in, say, like a traditional journal into the bullet? Or is this more...
Some days, so traditional bullet journaling is very stark, it's very simple. It's like you write down, half sentences, what do you want to do, what do you want to do,
Right.
what do you want to do. I kind of, some days I'll just, write down what I need to do, and then other days I'll write down sentences. Other days I'll be like, oh, I had an awful day today, I know, blah, blah, blah. Because sometimes I like to look back on those little things that I was thinking. That way I can say, why did I do that? Or why didn't I accomplish? Oh, that's right. I was having
Right.
a tough time because of X, Y, Z. Or I
Right.
was super successful because this was going on in my life. And how
Right.
do I get more of that into my life?
Yeah. So it's funny because it's like, I think of maybe it's, instead of having like, still have your separate like life journal, if you will. I don't know, let's call it a life journal. So you have your life journal, but then have this where you can have those days of like, say you want a big account. Like this day was Rockstar, I want a big account, and have that reflection of how it happened or how it transpired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you lost a big account and you can write how that happened, how it transpired.
I actually started keeping 2 journals. I'm a little journal crazy. I have a work journal.
Yep.
And then I have a personal journal, and sometimes they'll bleed into each other a little
Right.
bit, but mostly like the first thing I do with my work journal every day is I'll look at my calendar and say, what meetings do I have today?
Right.
And then I'll be like, okay, based on this, what do I need to prepare for today?
Right.
And I think a lot of people tell me, oh, I have a hard time using a journal, I forget about it. There's this thing called habit stacking, where
Yeah.
if there's something you do every day, like I have coffee at this time every day, I'll sit down with coffee and I'll take a look at my day, and then I'll plan, and that becomes part of that morning ritual. Or at night, if you sit down and have a glass of wine, you might use that moment to reflect on your day.
Right. It's funny about the habit stacking because I talk to my clients a lot about that because that's how I'm able to do habits. And coffee is definitely a driver for me. And so for me, I wanted to start drinking more water. And I drink a lot of water, but I wanted to start it earlier in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So now in order to have my first cup of coffee, I need to have a glass of water.
Absolutely. That's a great way to use habit
Yeah,
stacking.
so it was like, if I want that water, I'm like, if I want that coffee, and so basically I'm shooting a 16-ounce glass of water in order to get that cup of coffee.
So I do that with running too. When I'm training for something, I'll say I can't do X until I do Y.
Right.
And then I'll hold myself to. I mean, sometimes it gets me to work late, but but you get it done.
It is what it is. So I like that because that's also something you can use in the bullet journal, that it could be a habit tracker.
Absolutely. So another reason that I really love the bullet journal versus the day planners is I am a compulsive list maker. I love making lists. And before I found the journal itself, I was coming up with a format for my clients that could help them track not only their workouts, but their food in logs and also like their food shopping lists.
Right.
And one thing I love about the way that the bullet journal is designed is in the first page, you're supposed to come up with this index. And I love to put in things that I would like to buy at the supermarket
Right.
if I had the ideal time. So I write all the vegetables I like, and I like to do that, vegetables in green, the fruits in red, you know. That's my artistic side coming out. But then I always can refer back to that, like if you're in the supermarket and you're hungry and you have your journal with you, just say, okay, what should I really buy?
And I like that because it also, a lot of my clients struggle with, I'm a variety junkie, and I always tell them, you need more variety. And it's really easy to get into the grocery store and just go on rote, and just throw the same 20 things into the cart. Where if you have this, in the front of the bullet journal, if you have, like you said, either maybe it's a list you pull off the internet and you just tape it into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
This journal. I know some of you guys are, oh my God, it's in my phone. I'm not one of those people. I still old school, write out my grocery list. There's a pad on the counter. When I run out of something, it goes on the pad. So I like that because you're right. Because sometimes you do get to the grocery store, and this week, total funny story, there was no red cabbage, and I wanted red cabbage. But then I'm like, all right, well, what other food could I get? And so it'd be the perfect time to be like, well, now's a perfect opportunity to try something new.
Yeah, I find that often I forget that I like things. I don't know if you're the same way, but then I'll look through this list and I'll be like, artichokes. I think I actually like artichokes.
Right.
I haven't had an artichoke in a really long time. I should get an artichoke.
Right, but if I'm also someone who struggles with variety, it's a good way for me to kind of say, maybe if this 4 weeks in a month, I can go artichoke 1 and beets 2, and that way I know every
Force yourself to cycle through the vegetables.
yes, forces me, and then you can get a little more anal if you so desire. That you could break it down into what's in season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so that way, you're like, okay, these are the 10 fruits and vegetables that are in season, so this is what I'm going to look for when I go to the grocery store.
Yeah, I also, from time to time, will make lists of things that I like to cook because I forget, and I always
Yes.
fall back to the thing okay, there's a yogurt in the fridge, eat the yogurt, versus I like fish tacos. Oh,
Right.
I forgot I like fish tacos.
Right.
I'm such a goldfish. I forget the things that I like.
Right. You're like, is it Nemo?
Yeah. No, Dory.
Dory. I was
Dory.
like, which is the one who forgets all
Just
the
keep swimming.
time?
Just keep running.
Yeah. I'm like, I have no kids, so I don't know. Yeah. And so as you say that, I'm thinking, oh my God, right now I'm sold. I'm hooked. I'm in the boat. Because I'm thinking a lot of times for my clients, it could be very easy for them to have their food logs. And so if they were to kind of sit down and write down recipes or things that they like. So a lot of times I'll post, in my Facebook group, I'll post a recipe. And so you might see it today, but I'm not going to the grocery store till Sunday. A lot of life happens between now and Sunday.
Right.
And so it'd be really easy for me to write down fish tacos in my bullet journal. So then I'd be like, fish tacos posted on Tuesday. So that way I know to go back to Tuesday's post and see the recipe for fish tacos and see what do I need.
Absolutely. And one thing that I do that I find very useful in the bullet journal is if I saw that you posted something online about fish tacos, I would write it today and I would put a open checkbox in it. And then every Sunday night I go through the past week and say, is there anything that I didn't do this week? And then if I saw on Tuesday, oh, Kim talked about fish tacos, I will then either advance it to my next week to go do
Right.
it, or I will do it right then and then color it in. And there's so much satisfaction from coloring in those checkboxes. And a lot of people that I work with now thankfully use a bullet journal, and they say there's something about crossing out an item that's different than coloring it in, because coloring in is like a success versus crossing it out says it's not important anymore.
I don't know. I don't know. I get satisfaction out of both. Like, I get satisfaction out of, like, especially if you're someone who has this to-do list, and I get the satisfaction of just like, oh, good Lord, it's getting, like, my list is whittling away. So either way, a check mark, color, there's satisfaction for me. And you know, a lot of people are like, well, Kim, like, what? This I use for my calendar because I need things to beep at me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I will put like things that happen on the regular in this calendar. Like so I owe payroll. So I will put when I owe payroll in this because it beeps and buzzes and just basically smacks me in the head. Mm-hmm. Where if it's like a fish taco thing, I'm like, well, where do I put that?
Yeah, because it needs to come back again and remind you, but when is the right time?
Right. And I'm like, maybe I don't want fish tacos on this shopping list, but maybe 4 weeks from now I'll want fish tacos.
Right.
So I like that. I like how, you know, especially for my clients, they can use it as a double-edged sword because like they could sit down and say, here are my fitness goals. You know, it might be pull-ups or it might be do push-ups from your toes or some type of weightlifting PR for a deadlift or what have you. Or maybe it could be having artichokes.
Exactly.
And then, like you said, have that reflection of maybe it's daily reflection, maybe it's weekly reflection of maybe you didn't go to the gym today. Why? And be able to see patterns.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, the why. There's a great book called Habit. And
Yes.
You've read it. And one thing I love about the book is that it says sometimes you can change your patterns and sometimes you need to change your environment.
Yeah.
And if you're looking through your journal and you're seeing repeated patterns for some reason, you can keep saying, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do this?
Right.
And then say, you know, I fell off the wagon with my diet tonight because I ate, you know, had 3 glasses of wine watching the latest TV show.
Right.
Why? Because I was sitting in front of the TV. Why? Because I didn't plan something to do.
Right.
Why? Because I didn't think about it the day before. So then you know, like, you need to do something in order to get something. So you
Right.
need to take yourself out of that environment and change that pattern. And you can do that by planning in advance. So
Right. So this is just like my brain is like, so buckle up because I got some ideas. Buckle up. So we got 4 minutes left. So I'm gonna land the plane. Okay. So here we are landing the plane. 1, bullet journal rocks. So if you haven't figured that out, I'm telling you now. Bullet journal rocks. And I know I'm pointing, that's rude. Bullet journal rocks. So it can be used for any goal. I could, depending on how many goals you have, I could either put one giant bullet or I could break it into my personal life, my business life, and even my fitness life. So it really depends on how I want to organize. But I like how you can like divide, subtract, and multiply based on how you think your brain is going to work.
absolutely.
But I also like the fact that you decide. So it might take you a little while to kind of figure out your rhythm. But I think there is a rhythm there's a rhythm that could be had. You don't have to get fancy smancy. You don't have to make pretty pictures. You don't have to do the rainbow sticker, although I like that. But, you know, I always talk about Jerry Seinfeld did don't break the X. Have you heard that?
No.
So Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know, Jerry Seinfeld, when he first started, he said, if I want to be a great comedian, I have to have a whole library of jokes. So every single day he challenged himself to write at least one joke. And so he had a old school calendar, and every day he put a big red X. And he said, don't want to break the chain. So every day for a month he challenged himself to write a joke, and he had a big red X. So this is your big red X. This bullet journal is your big red X.
And I have a little gift for you, Kim.
Oh my God.
A bullet journal that says you've got a friend in me. So I'm hoping that
Oh my God.
you'll use your journal and achieve all of your big goals.
I don't think I'm going to do anything tonight but journalists. Oh my goodness. I love it. 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 So, Jen, where can we find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Phoenix Jen. And I am both a technology coach and for women in tech and a fitness coach and a nutrition coach. Coach.
And so just LinkedIn, no Facebook, no Instagram, none of the other grams.
I'm not much of an Instagrammer. I am on Facebook. Phoenix Jenn, once again.
Okay.
Like the city.
Yeah. So this has been awesome. So if you, like I said, I'm convinced, totally gonna make out with this later. I have a zillion colored pens. I have an addiction for pens. I might have an addiction for stickers after this. Stickers might become my next bestie. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. Next week I'm lying. Next week is the 4th of July. So happy 4th of July for those of you guys who celebrate. And on July 10th, I'll be back, and it's all about energy. So many of you guys talk about being tired, not having any energy for fun, not having energy for work. We're going to talk all about how can you get energy when you need it fast. How do you start to stop feeling tired all the time? It's just energy, 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 energy. So if you're ready to feel supercharged and not relying on caffeine, although caffeine's good, but I have that all for you guys on July the 10th. So I hope you guys have a great 4th of July. Hope you enjoyed the show. Do me a favor. You can find me on Facebook at Kim Jefferson. You can find me on Instagram at Kim Jefferson Coach. Any questions, comments, feel free to shoot me an email at squadleader@fabfitsquad.com. This has been a great show. I'm sure I'm going to have some follow-up stuff on this because this was some good stuff. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on July 10th. We have 30 seconds.
Astrologically, turning 30 is a big effing deal.
It's called Saturn.
Saturn takes 30 years to orbit the sun and your personal birth chart.